Recording starting now.
Cool. Excellent. So welcome everybody to the January 2021 Global Board of Directors meeting. From the board, we have Grant, and actually I haven't expanded this, which is going to be annoying. So Grant, Martin, Juman, Bill, Sharif, Vandana, and myself on Pendlebury. We also have a number of staff. Furthermore, I just wanted to welcome Bill and Juman to their first official Global Board of Directors meeting, and Martin for your returning to the board as well. So welcome back. There's also a number of staff, and I see Sam is also present, and also Tom Papas. So just moving down, we'll go to the previous board meeting minutes. First of all, so I trust everybody's had a chance to review them. If there's any discussions, so I motion to approve the board meeting minutes from December 2020. If I can get a second. Perfect. If there's any discussion, otherwise I'll go into a vote. No discussion. Perfect. So by the order that I can see everybody, Grant?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Juven?
Yes.
Bill? Sorry.
Abstain.
Okay.
I wasn't in the meeting last times, or not enough to know.
That's no problem. But from just as an FYI, so it's the board's responsibility to review the previous one. So it's okay if you weren't there, but even just to review them, just to make sure that you're happy, is okay. Sharif?
Yes.
Vandana?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. I don't think I've missed anybody. Perfect. So moving on. So the first item that we're going to go through is so at the start of every year we nominate and elect new officers to the board. So this year is no different. There's 4 roles: there's chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. There's also the remaining 3 board members will be members at large. So just to start the ball rolling, so can I get a nomination for chair?
I'll nominate myself for chair.
Perfect. Anybody else? No. Okay, no problem. So just officially, just to go through for completeness, to go through everybody. So Grant?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
Vandana?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Sorry. Did I get Juven? Sorry.
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry.
And just one quick question. When someone nominates,
no problem.
does someone have to second the nomination?
Oh, sorry, that is correct. Sorry, nobody seconded it. No, sorry, nobody has to second it.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Yeah, it's only for motions. Sorry, I was being called and it distracted me as I was talking. Can't do 2 things at the same time. Perfect. And now my window is gone all weird, so I can't see everybody. There we go. Perfect.
At this point, Sharif should be taking over as the new chair.
No, we have to complete the process for all roles first, and then Sharif can take over as chair.
Right.
So for vice chair, can I get a nomination? Congratulations, Sharif. Sorry.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Sharif.
Congrats.
And for Vice Chair, Vandana, I just heard yourself nominate yourself. Is there anybody else? No. So going in the order that I see everybody, Grant,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Vandana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Juben,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So congratulations, Vandana.
Congratulations.
So moving on, Secretary, can I get a nomination?
I nominate myself.
Perfect. Thank you, Bill. Is there anybody else that would like to nominate themselves? No? Okay. So yet again, sorry, going through. So Grant,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Vandana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Juben,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Perfect. Congratulations, Bill.
Thank you.
And then moving on, Treasurer. So can I get a nomination for Treasurer?
I'll nominate myself.
Perfect. Thank you, Grant. Is there anybody else? No. So moving on. So Grant,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Vandana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Juben,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Congratulations, Grant. So just to recap, as chair for 2021, we'll have Sharif. As vice chair, we'll have Vandana, secretary Bill, and treasurer Grant. Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah, congratulations,
Cheers.
everybody. Cheers.
Congratulations.
And at this point, as Sharif is taking over from as chair from me, I'll pass you over to Sharif to complete or to chair this board meeting. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Owen. I'll share mine.
No problem.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So congratulations, everyone. The next motion that we have is to confirm recharter of the Education Committee. So as just a quick background, during the preparation of the minutes, it became clear that despite being clear about approving the committee charter, extended discussion with the committee members, the vote there wasn't a particular motion. The vote, however, was unanimous. And what we're doing here is to actually reconfirm with a proper motion. This has been sponsored by Grant and seconded by myself. So the motion is resolved. The 2021 board confirms the unanimous vote by the 2020 board to approve the Education Committee Charter. The following motion shall be entered into the minutes of the December 2020 meeting. Resolved, the Education Committee Charter is approved effective December 15, 2020. Do we have any discussion items on this motion? No. Okay, we'll go for a vote by order how I see it on my screen. So first, Grant.
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Cuban,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Vandana,
Yes.
and it's a yes for myself as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. The next motion is to approve the updated charter of the chapter committee charter. This requires a sponsor and a second. Can we have a sponsor?
I can sponsor it.
Okay,
I'm happy to second, Sharif.
thank you. So with that, we'll open the motion for discussion. So Grant, as a sponsor, can you give us just a brief summary of the motion prior to going on a vote?
I think Vandana is the sponsor.
Oh, sorry, Vandana, sorry.
Right. So chapters committee will help chapters in coming forward. And when we talk about the committee policies, which we have recently changed, actually, it will also require committees to be updated. And especially when you talk about the chapters committee, we need to have formalized scope for them. So we will be creating formalized scope, as well as we will have representatives from chapter committee whenever there is a discussion or when we are defining the scope for them.
So Sharif, if I can just add to that, this is formalizing the previously scoped chapter committee charter. And it's resolving some of the conflicts they were between members who may have been on multiple committees. This is really the primary changes that have been made here. And Sam is here if people have questions. So if you have a specific question about the charter, Sam is present.
Yeah, that's right. Just to clarify that according to the committee's policy, it is not allowed for one committee member to be a voting member on more than one committee. This is why we had to make a change, because John DeLeo, who is a committee member of the Education Committee, is also a member of the Chapters Committee, so he is now flagged as a non-voting member of the Chapter Committee.
Okay. Are there any other further questions with regards to this motion? Okay. Without further ado, we can begin the vote. So again, by order of how I see board members, Grant?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Vandana?
Yes.
Owen?
Yep.
Martin?
Yes.
Jubin?
Yes.
And that's a yes for myself.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Congrats, everyone. Okay. So the next series of motions and subsidiary motions are related to policy and bylaw changes related to the code of conduct to comply with Delaware law. So we really realized through our bylaws basically uplift with Schwabe, there were several recommendations with regards to both the bylaws and the code of conduct. So over here, there are one large motion, which is resolve the board by 2/3 affirmation vote adopt Schwabe's recommendations to updates to the foundation's bylaws and director's code of conduct related to director removal and harassment. And there are a few subsidiary motions. So the first one is to amend board of director removal bylaws to comply with Delaware law. And then there's a secondary subsidiary motion, which is to amend the director's code of conduct to address harassment and repeated violations. So this was sponsored by myself and seconded by Grant. So I'll open up the motion for discussion. Okay, if there are no discussions with regards to the motion, so we will first vote on the main motion. So again, by order, see folks, Bill?
Yes.
Owen?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Jubin,
Yes.
Vandana,
Yes.
and sorry, did I miss anyone? Grant?
A yes from me too, Sharif.
And that's a yes for me. Okay. So Andrew, so then we go on to the subsidiary motion. So the first one is to amend the removal of bylaws to director removal bylaws to comply with Delaware law. By order from OIC. So Grant,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Owen,
Yep.
Jubin,
Yes.
Vandana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
and that's a yes for myself.
Can I ask a question? Is discussion required on subpoints?
Can if you want, I think.
Yeah, you can.
You didn't call for discussion, so I don't have
take
any
your time.
discussion points. I just wanted to make sure that we follow the rules.
Sure. Yeah, it's because I opened up the discussion for the overall motion because the motion itself is just talking about changes to each subsidiary motion. So if you would have wanted to have a discussion, it would have either been on the bylaws or the policy. Regardless, yes.
Okay.
So on the secondary motion, amend the director's code of conduct to address harassment and repeat violations. So open for discussion if anyone has any questions there. Going once, going twice. Okay. So go for, again, same in order. Bill,
Yes.
Owen,
Yep.
Martin,
Yes.
Jubin,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Vandana,
Yes.
and that's a yes for myself.
Thank you. I just want to take you through, there are some executive director and finance reports that we didn't go through due to the change of order. Do you want to go back to the reports? And
Of course.
okay, I'll just take you quickly through the organizational KPIs. We've got some very good news. We actually have a 22% annual increase in our membership since March 21. Sorry, since March 20. That's an error there. I'll have to fix that later. We have had obviously holidays, and so therefore we've had a dip in our visitors. I would like to replace this as a metric with some call to action metrics, such as the number of people who've joined or renewed. We've got the join. We now need the renews. I think is a very interesting thing. How many people join for 1 year and then leave? I think that's going to be an interesting one. And then I think there's other KPIs as well. So Sharif, we talked about this last year. Can I have a discussion with you about what those KPIs might look like?
Sure, of course.
Okay, I'll take that offline. Now, I did ask, because our metrics this month for the SLAs would be terrible because our staff are away, I chose to use this opportunity to get a ticket cleanup. We are down to, at the time of this KPI being collected, we are down to 7 tickets in the OSD, and NSFR is cleaned up as much as it possibly can be. I think we need to change our process a little bit because our SLAs are assume that the tickets will be resolved within a certain period of time, and yet some of the processes that we have for the non-funding requests are that they can go on for a long time. And so we need to change our processes a little bit to get this back up to where it should be. Transferring some of the longer term things like project promotions and whatnot to either not be part of the SLA, which is the primary reason why it's so low. Because every time what happens when a project is promoted, which happened this month, that ticket then pulls down the entire rest of the tickets. So we either need to exclude them from the SLA or transfer them out and close the ticket. Otherwise, the SLAs look like we're not doing well when in fact we're doing very well. Our net income, I'll let Tom talk to this, but we have done an amazing job of constraining expenses and getting more income than we thought. we're actually up $376,000 over the forecast C. I'll let Tom explain that in more detail. In the preparation of this KPIs, I actually noticed that the number of the previous months, we had short meetings in November and December and October. Like we just didn't have the actual financials presented. And then when I went back through the minutes and the agendas of those other meetings, I found that because they weren't linked, it's not an accurate record. I would like to bring an e-vote to allow me to amend the minutes of the previous meetings to include the correct financial packages. Would that be okay?
As long as we, for me, as long as we also review the financial packages prior to this, the motion and the spirit of the intent is to ensure accuracy there.
Yes.
So I'm okay from my perspective, but obviously defer to the rest of the board there.
Okay, from my side as well. If it's accurate, absolutely, that should go back. Yes.
Okay. I will put forward a motion and provide the board links to every single package. It goes back as far as October's financials. So September's is fine. October, November, December, you just didn't see them at the actual board meetings. And it's important for the board to have that oversight of the finances. I will provide you links to the correct packages and you can go back and have a read. The reason why I mentioned...
Andrew,
Sorry.
I was just going to say there were also one or two other links in those meetings that we weren't able to access, and I think there was stuff that was supposed to be sent on. So maybe once you're doing this, it might be worth validating if there was anything else that got missed.
Yes. I actually have fixed the agenda because the agenda is not what you approve. The minutes are, but I want to fix the minutes, which is what this e-vote is going to be about. I actually have done that, but I will check and validate all links.
Can I ask a... Sorry, I just wanted a quick question. What's OSD and NSFR?
Okay,
Yes.
so we've got two different help desks. One for money, which is OSD, is how you get expenses paid. Regional events who are doing budgets and things like that, they put it through OSD. Pre-approvals for holding events goes through the non-funding help desk. I'm not sure why we ended up with two. However, it is the way it is, and people, you know, we can always go back and review that operationally. It may be better just to have one queue, but all of our automation is set up to, you know, from the contact us page is set up to go to one of those two places, and then the workflows allocate it to the right person. So it might be more work than it's actually worth to change at this point. So
I think historically it was because of an approval process, which we've now tried to streamline.
Yes.
But I would agree that changing it now is probably more work than it's worth. But Bill, that's a good point. We use a lot of acronyms. If there's any acronyms you don't recognize, call us on them, because this time last year, I had no idea what those were either.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, I'll let Tom talk about the finances in his report. Can we just go down to the executive director? It's just down a little bit, like it's right at the bottom. There. Okay, I just wanted to welcome Kelly. Kelly has been appointed to the Director of Events and Corporate Support. So thank you, Kelly, for coming aboard. I think this is going to be an incredibly positive move for us. We've already found some issues that Kelly is starting to address. So I think this is going to be incredibly valuable for us.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Kelly.
Congratulations.
We are using this quiet month. This is traditionally a quiet month, no matter what year it is, with or without COVID, to get things done. One of those things that I've got you to do is play the planning poker game. I have one question for Owen, and then I'm going to relinquish the floor to Tom. Owen, you only put a few ones and twos. Is that deliberate, or did you mean to have one meaning this is your most important? Because I can turn those things around.
So I actually started it, and then I responded by email saying that that I feel that we should be focusing on survive. based on the impact of COVID and everything that we've discussed in over the last number of months. So
Okay.
rather
So
than putting it in,
could I get you could I get you to put in what you think out of the survived things are important to you?
Yeah, sure.
It'll
Yeah,
help.
I just felt that we as a board should be more focusing on survive and trying to make sure that the board is stable.
Yep, I agree. Thank you. But I'd really appreciate if you could just fill in your points in the survive section. That is a very valid point of view. And Tom, your turn.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everybody. Congratulations, all the officers. Looking forward to working with you all. Kelly and I have already started working. We've got some things in the budget. I've got to review some of the numbers and the Australian event. So I'll be updating that. So hopefully we'll be able to get a vote before or actually at the February board meeting for 2021. I've already set up meetings with Grant to have, bi-weekly updates. I also want to, I've been, the cadence for financial reports has been by the end of the day on the Friday before the board meetings, but I know Andrew likes to get his reports out a little earlier than that. So I suggested to him, and I'm going to do everything I can to get there, is to have the financial package done by the end of the day on Thursday, so that Andrew can coordinate it. Typically, I send it to the officers because I have a narrative in the email that you're all welcome to look at. With that, Sharif, if you want to relinquish the screen, I'll pull up the financials because I want to look at the balance sheet quickly. Thank you. And then the board summary. Okay. Okay, so when we look at our balance sheet at the end of the year, the one thing to really take a look at is our cash position. We finished the year with about just over 1.2 million. I looked at our accounts yesterday. We're still in that, just about 1.2 million. So we're doing well. It affords us a fair amount of operating reserve. I know we're working on the chapter and project balances. The accounts payable have gone down. The other liabilities in here are more or less what's gone back and forth between OWASP EU and the US. There's 112,000 in here for the PPP loan that we got last year. I reported the government has now come out with an EZ form, which is what I've been waiting for. It's basically a 2-page attestation. So I'll be working on that between this week and next to get that submitted. I don't see any reason why we won't be forgiven. We meet all the criteria. We did not lose any employees. We actually added one. So that liability should be going away. We have about 121,000 of deferred revenue between the US, EU, and LASCON. So that takes up most of the liabilities. We have no real long-term liabilities. Our equity is still good at just over $1 million. Our receivables are down, which is also very good. And, it's a testament to Kelly and Marissa on my team because they meet regularly to review them. So there's nothing really old sitting out there. Any questions with the balance sheet at this point?
Sorry, go on, Andrew.
Yeah, Tom, I know the answer to this, but it's going to be important for the board. At some point, Moneycorp will take over from ING. Do you explain what the process will be to decommission the ING accounts, and will we need Martin to go and get us access back, or do we still have access?
So thank you for bringing up. That was the last piece that I was going to bring up. We have begun starting to use Moneycorp, which is a funds transfer organization that can transfer money basically all over the world. So it negates us having to have foreign currency accounts because it's linked right to our US operating account. I'm hoping I've got to set up, I know, Martin, that you meet or have tried to meet with Marissa, but what I'd like to do is to try, and now that we've used it, seen it in action, it's worked, is to work on closing the ING accounts and transferring that. This is based on converting it to USD. So it'll be somewhere in this range, converting this and getting it over to our citizens account. So I think you're going to have to play a large role in that, Martin, because you're the only one with access right now. So if it's all right, I'd like to reach out to you and see if you and I can catch up next week when you have some time and work through how to get these closed and the funds transferred.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So, so again, as Andrew noted, going forward, we're going to be using MoneyCorp because instead of paying wire fees and, the payees on the other end getting hit for fees and not getting the full amount of their reimbursements, MoneyCorp pays out in the currency that is needed. And it's we have to pay obviously the currency conversion, but their platform costs us $5 per transaction, which is very economical. And there's no per month fee for the platform. So if we don't use it, we don't pay anything.
Is there also the question about the tax we had in the Belgian tax office work and accountancy? So that will also be done midless.
Right. Exactly. And again, thank you for bringing that up as one of the things I was going to mention. We just got our fourth quarter VAT return done. Andrew, I put you on it because they didn't have you on it. We came through again. The taxing office owes us about 111 euros. So that gets pushed forward, and if we owe anything in the first quarter, which I suspect we won't, it gets offset against that. So for the last year and a half, we've had a positive balance that the taxing authority has owed us a little bit as opposed to us owing them. So it'll also negate some of that as well.
Is MoneyCorp only being used for the EU transactions or for all transactions, even within the US?
Not within the US, because in the US, that's a great question, Jubin. In the US, we have the ability to do what's called automated clearinghouse transfers, ACHs, which is a free form of wiring. So anywhere in the continental US, we can do electronic funds transfers for no fee. This is specifically for outside the US, and they can get into just about every country that's not on the OFAC list.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
And also the thing that, do we have, so we lose any non-American account numbers, is that correct?
We lose any
because also the problem when you do a sponsorship for an event, but I think that was independent for OWASP conference, for example, when you did sponsorship, some local companies required to not pay the amount or the invoice to a Europe entity, but it will not change then, even with the account number in it.
Yeah.
So Martin, I think what you're asking is, because we're losing these European bank accounts, that there might be some that won't pay to a US bank account. MoneyCorp also has the ability to collect funds in foreign currencies and then convert them back to the US. So they would essentially be paying MoneyCorp, which would then transfer the funds to our bank account again for a $5 fee and whatever the currency conversion is. So hopefully that would be acceptable to whomever we have as sponsors outside the US.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we need for Kelly. I think you know more about it for sponsorship and for other events, definitely the local events. So for example, if somebody in the Netherlands wants to sponsor Netherlands events, you only get a tax advantage when you sponsor them by the OWASP European entity, because it's a European entity, then you have a tax advantage. Otherwise, when you sponsor by the global organization, that was one of the reasons why we had OWASP Europe.
Yeah.
Then you will have the problem.
We're not disbanding the entity. The entity will stay.
No, that's what I said. So with the bank account number, it's still the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And also for the, we had in the past also accountants when we do an OWASP conference in Europe. How will this also affect that in a part with the ticket price sponsorship money we had with local entity?
As a suggestion, I mean, if that, we foresee that being an issue, then my recommendation would be to close the NZD, the pounds and the US ING accounts and leave 500 euros, 1,000 euros in the ING euros account. Because there really aren't a lot of fees that are coming through. I mean, there are some months where we see nothing, not even bank fees from ING. So if we could get so that we have one account and we have access to it, just as a insurance policy in case we find a sponsor that can't pay the US entity, Money Corp won't work for them, we would at least have a banking option that doesn't cost us much in the in the EU of keeping the ING euros account with a very minimal balance.
It's just something we have to look ahead. I think that we have no physical events this year, but for the remote events might be the same one for sponsorship. I don't know. Maybe that Kelly can look into if there's any problem to be foreseen. We anticipate. Thanks.
Oh, no worries, Martin. I'm glad you brought it up. So, I mean, Grant and myself and Andrew and Kelly can talk about it. And, if that makes sense to everybody and it's economical and it provides us a measure of protection to be flexible. If we get a sponsor that, that has an issue, we can, I think we can keep one and make sure that we have access to it with a very minimal balance as an option. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jobin.
Slightly off topic from that. And I don't know if this is a dumb question, but do we have to be concerned with Money Corp's like financial stability itself? Like, are they escrowing money for us or are they holding it? Is that a concern that the board should take into account?
Again, a great question. So you can escrow money with them. They can speculate and purchase euros or other foreign currency. We don't that I'm aware of have any plans to do that. So when we pay that, when we use them to pay out, they're pulling the money right out of our account and it goes. We have yet to use it for money coming in, but I would prefer not to leave any funds. I mean, we have enough bank accounts as it is, and we're straightening out PayPal. Yeah. I don't think that we should leave anything with them, that we should close it out as soon as the funds come in for anything that we use it for to take funds in. And that would mitigate against that. It's kind of the same thing of, PayPal, they're sitting on a small balance because it comes in and out, but we close those out so that they're not sitting on the funds for just that reason, Jubin.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
No worries. This is good. I'm glad we're having, a conversation and you all have questions about this. So if there's no more questions, on the balance sheet, I'll take us to the good news on the P&L.
I do have one last item
Sure.
on the balance sheet, and this is mainly on 2021 though. The PPP loan, with the new US COVID legislation and financial support, are we eligible this year for additional loans as well?
That's a great question. We might be. The 900 that got put in just before the inauguration, they're still going back and forth as far as the eligibility for it. I just saw the applications come out on Friday. But if the new president gets his way in the 1.9 billion, there will be more because nonprofits, specifically 501c6s, the associations, didn't have a lot of access to any support. The C3s did, which is why we were able to go for this. So I'd have to see what the criteria is for it, Sharif. But the other thing that I'm looking into, and I mentioned it to Andrew yesterday, one of the byproducts, other than an easy form for people who have taken less than 150,000, which is OWASP, is there's an employee tax credit, which will give us back. It'll reduce the taxes that we pay for our employees, and it can be retroactive. you couldn't do both under the original CARES Act, which is where we got this 112. That's now been lifted. So I'm going to work with Insperity to see what we can do about refiling our 941 forms, which is the payroll tax returns on a quarterly basis. And, you know, we may be able to get some credits, which means we won't have to pay in the future, which at the end of the day will save us money. So I'm also looking into that, because now they're mutually exclusive. You can do both. You don't have to just, if you got one, you couldn't get the other.
Okay, that's perfect. So what you're saying is, aside from being able to apply for an additional PPP loan, we'll also take a look at tax credits, which are not just applicable for 2021, but retroactive for 2022 as well. Is that correct?
Correct, because if we're allowed them, they won't give us money, but we'll have credits that we can apply to payroll taxes we would owe in 2021.
Okay.
So in essence,
And
it would be saving us cash.
that's excellent. There is one last question I had
Sure.
with regards to this, and that is, we're looking at the financial support that the US government is providing. Would we be eligible under the EU entity for any EU related relief as well?
You know what? That's a very good question. I actually have a call tomorrow with one of the CPA firms that we use has a reciprocal relationship with a CPA firm and a tax firm in the Dutch Netherlands. So while not Belgium, I will put that on the docket to ask them, because I'm trying to set up for one of our new clients, Dutch Netherlands entity. So I can ask. I don't know if it's similar to the US, where it's based on employees. There are really no employees of the European entity, but I'll ask what they know. I'm hoping they should have some idea of what the EU is offering, and then I'll let everybody know.
You know that I'm based in the Netherlands, right?
Oh, are you, Martin? I did not know that. I thought, I'm sorry, I thought you were.
I am German, but now I'm also Dutch, and I live in the Netherlands for 28 years almost.
Do you want to do some accounting?
Nope.
It's just saying, Martin, that sounded a lot like you just volunteered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I help wherever I can in the context of OWASP.
Anyhow, I mean, the reason we're doing it is this new organization came out from under another org, and that they had access to that organization's Netherlands entity, and they're doing some working group work and have a consultant over there. So they need to have a presence and an entity. So we're trying to set it up as economically and non-compliance issue as possible. So, you know, while Andrew said we're not dissolving the EU entity, if having an entity in the Dutch Netherlands is less of an administrative compliance issue, I may bring that back to the board to think about, because we all know the issues that we have with the Belgian entity, with the 4 VAT returns and the Patriarch return, and there was a newer one this year that Gary as the secretary had to sign. So we've been able to economically have a CPA firm there deal with it for us, but it's still a little bit more of an administrative. I'm told in the Dutch Netherlands, you may know better than I, Martin, is that there's 1 return a year, and that's more or less it, depending on how you're set up.
Okay.
So anyways, I figured I'd throw that out, but I will ask Sharif and see what I can find out for EU relief.
Tom, let's talk about it in our meeting, because I'm out in the Netherlands monthly when there's no travel restrictions.
Oh, okay, great.
And I used to have a business based out of the Netherlands. So yeah.
That would be fantastic, Grant. I'm looking for all the help and advice that I can get for this. Okay, I will take it. So here's the board summary. I'm not really going to talk about even though this has to get changed, it should be December. What I do want to talk about is the year to date. So as you can see, we had 4 months of budget, and then we went to the Z forecast that everybody voted in. The budget for revenue was 1.8 million. We did a little over 2.2. Most of it being over budget was in the conferences and corporate sponsorships. And what helped with that was being able to recognize what had been collected for San Francisco that was supposed to be in the fall of 2020 for the October online event. It was very profitable. Our expenses, we were basically right on, as Andrew said, we were $5,800, $5,900 under budget. So we watched our expenses, very well. Some were, I mean, a fair amount of what helped was the chapter expenses. We budgeted around 200. They only spent 3,500. That won't continue to happen, obviously, but helped us this past year. The legal work that was unbudgeted, those two more or less offset each other. We were way under in projects. The conferences, and this is what I want to work with Kelly on, is this has been a consistent theme over the years, is we outpace our budgets for revenue, but we also outpace our expenses as well. And if we could rein this in, then it would make our net income on conferences that much better. And obviously we saved on travel because we had no travel for the year. So with that, as Andrew noted, we showed a $16,000 net profit for the year on an accrual basis versus, as we all knew, we were looking at a, $300,000 plus loss that we all had voted on to, for the year. So it was, by all measures, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, a very, very good year, because we broke even. So with that, I'll take any questions. Okay. I'll turn it back over, but Vandana, I want to thank you for, your year as the treasurer. It was great working with you, and I'm really looking forward to working with you, Grant. So anything you need, just let me know.
Done.
Okay, Sharif, I think the next item on the list is the additional business, which includes Harold's presentation. I think you've stopped sharing the screen, or do you want me to share my screen?
I can share the screen, but it depends on what Harold is presenting. Would it make more sense for you or him to present?
I just want to go through, there's a couple of minor things. The chapter policy is still being worked upon. There was a lot of feedback. I will try to get you a copy of that as soon as possible so you can review it for next month. Up. We need to go back to the, just down a little bit. We're going to the additional agenda stuff. So post the new business. Okay.
Yeah.
The chapter policy has been deferred to next month. If you wish to do that as an e-vote, I'm happy to do as an e-vote once you've had time to review it. But I would prefer that you would actually have the time necessary to review it. I'd also prefer it if the chapter committee could have someone here for you to discuss with them. There are two other pieces of item, and then basically the end of the meeting is essentially after Harold's presentation. We received very extensive feedback from the lawyers on our bylaws. There is so much, so many comments that I think, honestly, we need to reconcile what they're recommending with the bylaws as they stand now. As the board is responsible for the bylaws, I'd like to have one or more of the board help me reconcile the bylaw comments from the lawyers and present to you a fresh bylaw to be voted on within the next 60 days at the March board meeting. Do you think that this is going to be possible, and can I have a volunteer or two?
So I'll happily volunteer as this is quite important. The bylaws are one of the binding agreements that the board may be liable for. And as well as our overall responsibility for the foundation. So it's important we get it right. And the fact that legal has over 30 recommendations or so, then that is quite urgent for us to get it right.
Yeah, and we've already adopted some of them today, and that's why it needs to be reconciled. Okay, thank you.
Sharif, I'd like to.
I'll volunteer.
Sorry, Andrew. Oh,
I can
okay.
help too.
I've got Bill and Sharif, Vandana. Jubin, you're saying something? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't want Sharif to be alone, but given that he's got some volunteers, I'll pull back. I think.
Okay.
I don't want too many cooks in that kitchen.
Okay. As discussed with Martin via the Google Groups mission statement, I do agree that it is the board's responsibility to decide what this mission statement should be and whether or not you're going to do it. I'd like to run an e-vote over the next week or so to determine if the board wants to change the mission statement, and if so, could I call for a volunteer now so we can get going if the vote is successful? Is that going to be okay?
Sure. Sure.
So, Andrew, just to elaborate, a volunteer to do what?
The mission statement is so central to what we do that it needs to be worked on with the community. It cannot be something that the board itself just comes up with or I come up with. It needs to be something that we can all get behind, we all believe in, and will set us up for the next 20 years. We've had pretty much the same form of mission statement since 2004. It's aged. So what I'm trying to say here is if you like the current mission statement, vote no in the e-vote. If you think that we need a new one, please vote yes, but then I need a volunteer to assist leading the effort. I do agree with Martin. This is the board. This is the board's purview. I think someone from the board needs to lead this effort and come back to us in, say, 90 days with a revised statement that the board can consider.
Just to be very clear, we want someone from the board, if we agree to do this, to basically shepherd this process through, working with the community, working with the rest of the board, and come up with a motion for us to vote on, which is the mission statement.
I would volunteer to do that, but I would not like to do the e-vote. I would do it a different way because I think a mission statement goes wider than the board deciding it. So I think it should be finding the right people to define a mission statement and then see if the community wants a new statement that I would lead.
So how do you propose?
I agree, Martin.
So I would agree to poll to see if we actually want one, not we as a board only, but also we as a OWASP community. And if so, to find people to work on a new mission statement.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You will be anyone will be working on it. There is absolutely no question that this cannot be done in a silo. The question is, can we have a board member to be the primary sponsor and helping at least navigating this and working with the community on it? It's not necessarily that he's going to be alone, is to shepherd that entire process essentially.
That's what I said. I would.
Okay, good.
That I would volunteer for.
Okay, so Martin.
Thank you, Martin.
So we don't need an e-vote. If you do it, I will pull the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can do an e-vote in Doodle for the community. Like, do we need a?
As I said, I volunteer to pull it, so I don't need an e-vote from you. I will take care to see find the feedback from the community and bring it then to the board.
Yeah.
Okay. So the steps are, the first thing is for us to vote online whether or not the board wants to update the mission statement. If that is the case, Martin, you would volunteer to basically manage that with the community and push that forward, right?
As I said, I don't agree. As I said, I volunteer to find if there is also from the community first an initiative, a reason, a feedback that we would need a new one. I don't think that the board should vote now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we should vote either. I think Martin could just take it forward, and if there's interest, then we can react to that interest.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, automation roadmap. Harold.
All right, let me see if I can get this to share.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay.
Who is that guy without facial hair?
Hey, somebody had to show
Harold,
my,
what happened? What happened, man?
somebody had to show my son how to shave. So,
That's what balloons are for.
oh no, system preferences aren't opening and it's not letting me share the screen. Hold on.
Also, you realize by showing him how to shave, you now ensure that he's going to shave, and there'll be one less bearded person on the planet.
That's true.
And as he can, I wonder, is there a technical guy and he cannot share his screen? It's kind of.
There's a privacy setting you have to set once. Once you've set it, it'll work. Once he's fixed his privacy setting, he'll be able to share.
Once you break the security model of Mac.
Right. Here, how's this?
Hey.
Yay.
All right. It is not, though, being recorded, just so you know, because apparently I have to exit Zoom and come back.
We can see your screen, and the Zoom itself is recording, so we're fine.
Okay. OWASP automation and technology. Oh, great. Here we go. So 2020 was the year of the website, though we did do some of the automation in the last part of the year. The only reason I bring this up is because later on in the appendix section of these slides that you can look at on your own time, it mentions that the website spans over 592 repositories. And just want you to think about that for a minute and what that means. And it's really, and it's on a technology technically that is not made for a website to cross 2 repositories, and we have 592 of them. 2021 is going to be the year of automation because there's a lot of automation still to get done. I wanted to go over what we've completed real quickly. There's the nightly website content generations. This occurs at around 2 a.m., I think, Central Standard Time, probably. The leaders file gets updated. The various chapters, projects, and committee files that we have out there, the JSON files get updated. Staff project milestones has been deprecated, but it still gets done. There's various GitHub teams that get modified or added to. There's sponsorship updates. If Kelly makes a change to sponsors, there are 2 files technically which to identify sponsors, and one of those files gets updated nightly. We have meetup events. Currently, it's only chapters. I was recently asked why DevSlop's not showing up, and it's because it's a project, and I hadn't considered putting project meetups in there, so that's not in. And of course, the various status updates for the projects and chapters. And though I don't have it in there, we could do committees too if we wanted to. There's Stripe customer cleanup. Basically what that is we occasionally get people who are trying to test cards through our tool. And so basically there's a cleanup that goes through and deletes customers that are not real customers. There's the board attendance tool, which some of you probably have seen already. There's membership data that goes from Stripe and to MailChimp and Copper. And chapter project and committee creation. It's the reason that this is in here is automation. It's not a full automation end to end. There's a tool in Slack that we use as the staff to create chapters and projects and committees. And that tool does a number of automated bits behind the scenes. There's the membership billing self-service, the subscription items. If you sign up for a subscription, you can manage your subscription through the manage membership. There's email provisioning self-service, complimentary leader membership, which I could take off of here at the moment because I just found out recently that it's not working, so I'll be fixing that shortly. Event registration, there's event tools that we use in Slack that does a lot of behind the scenes manipulation of data in Stripe so that events can run. Training certificates, event receipt invoice generation, the community group Zoom provisioning, and the GitHub username assignation is basically people fill out a form and the form gets run through automation. Plan for 2021, we have an invoice status update. Currently, when Kelly marks an invoice as having been paid, if she does it manually, it does not get updated properly, and that's some automation that needs to take place. And the reason that's first is because it's pretty important to be able to do that. The Google email maintenance, basically as members come on and go off, their Google emails need to go on and go off as well. Leader automation, there's a whole lot of leader automation that really needs to take place. Updating our backend with the information that's on the website, possibly vice versa. Update and maintain the leaders at OWASP.org, just like members come on and off, the leaders list would go on and off, and that would make sure that it's an actual OWASP leaders, capital L leaders, list only. And there's various Slack bots I'd also like to add for the staff use, having to do with add and remove leader. Chapter activity detection and reporting, also important. And project activity detection and reporting, I don't think we need that for committees. I want to do some more automation around the GitHub username, because right now there's a big manual part of it where they fill out the form and then I run a tool against the form. I'd rather it just happened. Committee leader changes, update. So if committee leader has to change, then we can do some automatic checking to see whether or not they're members, for instance. Community Slack bots, regional events. Right now, our event tool in Slack that we use is not available, of course, in our community Slack. And we can't just make it available because that would be too many people having access. So there's a little bit of architecting, I guess, that needs to go on with that, figuring out where to make those available and who has access to those regional events. Basically, what this would allow them to do is spin up an event page very similar, using our look and feel for the events so that regional events would look similar. Reporting Slack bots would be important for the staff. Number of staff are really interested in generating reports for the various lead chapters and all their statuses and who leads them, that sort of thing. So instead of looking at the website, we want reports to be generated. There's not currently scheduled, but certainly things that we've talked about doing before, which is broken link detection. I've asked the community at one point to help out with this. I think Sam might have even been asked at one point. And it's still on the list of things to try to get done. And that's basically having somebody run some tools against all of our repositories, our website, and determine where the broken links are so that they can get fixed faster. There's a lot of them in the www.community section. Though I don't know if you've noticed that that's getting cleaned up fairly regularly. It's always being worked on. I really like to thank Rick Mitchell for a lot of that. Membership self-service updates, the ability to change your secondary email address, phone number, etc. That's not currently possible without contacting staff, and I would like to make that as a self-service thing. And it could possibly be part of the membership portal concept, which is a secondary non-automation item. There's an OWASP API that we've talked about. That's also not technically automation, but it's certainly something that we could look at trying to make available to the community. There's the mobile web application that's possible that it could do some sort of membership self-service type things as well. more Slackbot. The Jira ticket, a lot of the Jira ticket items are very manual for us, and it would be nice to be able to throw more automation at it. The tools in Jira for automation aren't really that good. So we'd have to write some automation around that ourselves. And revisit the self-service complimentary membership. I put that in there 1A. It's not working currently for the leaders. And 2, there's a little bit of work to do to try to determine. Right now it works on the email address that they signed up for their membership with, which may not be the email that they've put on the website as part of their as leadership duties. So that will not match those up currently, and we'll have to do some testing around that. And that's it. The rest of it is all appendix, basically to give you an idea of what our technologies are that we're using behind the scenes. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Harold. So any questions from the board?
Yeah, so it's Harold and what army of people are implementing all that?
So it's mostly me, but certainly we do have, there are cases where I've reached out to the community, and we also have a couple of contractors that we've used in the past. One of them is currently working still for us under contract. His next goal is to do the Google email part of it. That'll require a lot of coming up with the right process, because we don't just want to kick people out once their membership's done, right? And then there's another guy who worked on the events tool part of it and a lot of the website part of it from the past, and I'm still in contact with him because he's helping out with a lot of free tech support. So there's technically, I guess, 3 of us, plus occasionally I find people from the community who help out.
Well, I commend you. That's a lot of work. So thank you.
Thanks.
Harold, I just want to echo Bill's comment there. That's a lot on your plate. And please, if you do need help chatting to the community, getting people involved, I know there's lots of people happy to help out with some of this automation stuff.
Awesome. A lot of the things that are scheduled for later in the year is probably things that I would really enjoy help with. So that's good to know. Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Martin.
Definitely. I always said I wonder that we only have one. With the past, when we were smaller, we had 2 people for this. And now we only have 1 Harold. So that's something we should consider, but it's operational. So I give it the trust hand of Harold and for sure Andrew. There are 2 questions that raised for me when I looked at the new project list. One is the OWASP Mariam project, which is kind of an OSINT tool, and the other one is the application gateway. And for both of them, I wonder what is our legal, maybe that's a question then for operation for Andrew, what is our legal dependency on this? Because it's open source tool. And I know that in the past, of course, when I write code and someone else uses it, we need to attach license and say, okay, it's not, I did my best, but it's not that you can hold me accountable for this. But we as OWASP are a security company. So one for the Mariam project, where it's circulating OSINT data, it can be a different case. And the other one, the OWASP application gateway, when you implement this and it will be circumvented or broken, I would like to see if we are, by any case, are reliable if this is not living up to the promises.
So this is actually probably going to highlight the fact that we don't have a projects policy. We do need to probably have a policy on appropriate licenses and what happens when a project decides to leave us. This is actually something that Steve Springett brought up. We've actually had examples where people have cleared out their repo and we've lost access to the code. What should have happened is they should have reforked their project and left the old version with us. We need to get a policy around this. And I think at that time, I think I'll get your feedback on, are we liable? I think that's actually a really important thing, because if any of our learning platforms stores personal data, I don't think it'll actually do that, but just in case, or say, for example, the education portal might end up storing some of our personal data, such as certificate status, then I would actually expect us to be liable if we have a data breach, and we need to make sure that we're okay. So can I circle back with you on that when we get close?
Yeah, I didn't expect that answer right away. It's just something that when I looked at this project, I was like, It's the same with the past. We had this over security API, and now how it's called?
ISAPI.
ISAPI, thank you. There was the same problem that some languages were better supported than the others.
Yeah.
And I think that now we're still we're becoming more mature. We have to think about what happens and don't be reliable. Actually, we have for the project, I thought we have guidelines or handbook, because
It's
there's
really out of
always
date. It's really out of date, and it's actually with the project committee at the moment to rewrite, but I don't know that
Exactly.
it's made much. Yeah, I
But
don't think we've actually.
There was a requirement for OWASP project to be a certain license, I thought. But just that's definitely a part for them to think about. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't actually have a project policy at the moment that would actually enforce that. I think we do need to have a policy along those lines. We're an open source community, and I think any OSI approved license should be the ones that we permit.
Right. We do have in the new project tool, whenever they sign up for a new project, it gives them a list of licenses that are all open source licenses. So it's whether or not they've chosen one. There's an option for other that doesn't get chosen very often, but they do have a list that they do choose. Now they can change it after the fact, right? So.
But Harold, that's only for projects that are under the OWASP organization, right? So like ZAP and WebGoat and all of those that live outside of the larger OWASP org, those don't get that enforcement, right?
They do when it comes to their, their project is supposed to be under an open source license, and it's, listed on their webpage. It's supposed to be listed in there. So even as
this is very much a.
Go ahead.
This is very much a projects committee thing, and they need to get a charter together first, and then they need to work on a policy properly. But yes, if somebody on the board would like to sort of push this forward, I think it is important.
I agree.
I
This is
think
incredibly important.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll see if I can push this with the project committee.
Okay, thank you. So Jubin, you're going to help with that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I do want to highlight two items as well to look at while we're doing this, just simply because working with the OpenSSF on the Linux Foundation side, and there was also one of the co-founders of the Apache Foundation, and I've worked with the Apache Foundation projects. Some of them would wanted to work with OWASP as well. There were 2 or 3 other things I wanted to highlight. First of all, the ownership. So in some cases, for the Apache Foundation, for example, they own the trademark of the project. So if you want to move away from that, then you'd have to use a different name for it. Also, you are relinquish ownership of that project. So it's not necessarily your project, it's the OWASP Foundation or the Apache Foundation project. Obviously, it's open source, so you can just fork it whatever you want to, but they own the trademark. So that's something that is also very important to make a note, because if somebody wants to create a company on top of an Apache project, they have a new name. So Apache Cassandra, for example, there's a company that's using it called DataStax. But these types of ownership and copyright requirements should be noted as well. The last thing on the the open source license, it's not just the open source of the software, it's also the dependencies. So just making sure that you're not wedging, for example, some proprietary code, and even then you'd maybe need to make some exceptions. I know, for example, ZAP has the JXP browser inside, which is proprietary, but they've given basically the fair use license for Zap and Zap users to leverage that browser internally. Just some things to think about once we're working on that, just to make sure that we have a good, well-managed project program.
Yeah,
And-
sure. There's also some comments on the policy page on GitHub about this.
Yeah, just so people don't get hit by surprise. There will be plenty of some of our more well-known projects and project leaders who will be opposed to anything we put forth to them when it comes to any sort of restrictions on what they can or cannot do. But
It always will be, but it's also, we cannot change the game easily for service oriented. So if somebody became an OWASP project to the past requirements and we change it now, of course we cannot just put it up on them. They will see that as stealing or claiming whatever they did. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's general problem of the involvement with the community in OWASP. I hear a lot of get and I don't hear a lot of we. I think it's not a problem.
Yeah, and I echo that with Martin as well. And it's also important for us to instill trust and also give and receive, right? So I think one of the things that we can focus on is how do we improve and help the projects. At some point, we might have to visit some trade-offs and some difficult conversations that may be good for the foundation, but I think we can just start slow and start with the positive and the mutually beneficial items. And then we maybe a little bit later, once we're more mature, have more of the challenging conversations there.
As a whole, I'm pretty sure that anything that's good for the project rather than an individual project leader, whatever is good for the project is going to be what the foundation is trying to achieve, because the foundation exists beyond us and hopefully forever, right? As will that project.
Yeah. Andrew, do you also wanted to cover the events and corporate support as well?
Is Kelly still on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Kelly, do you want to go through your update, please?
Yeah, let me make this bigger. My eyes aren't that good. Okay, so right now we've got our first training that's happening. It started at noontime Eastern. We had taken the top 5 classes from the Summer of Security from 2020 and offered them for this training. Unfortunately, only one of the training classes we were able to run that met our minimum. Bjorn is offering a free training in addition to the one paid. So he's got, I think, 83 students in that class right now. That's the free training. And then the other training, we thought we had the correct number of attendees until yesterday when we found out the registration system was duplicating an individual a couple times. So I believe that final number is going to end up being 12 instead of 17. So that's the training. What else do we have? The microsites, that's all launching this week. We have our call for battle. That'll be live tomorrow. Our March Lightning Conference, the speaker is confirmed, his agenda is all on the website, registration's open. When I checked that this morning, we had 53 registrations for that. That is a free event, but we have sponsorships for that. I've sent a contract yesterday for a $10,000 sponsorship for that event. So, and we just opened that registration. So hopefully that'll be a good event. What else do we have? Global AppSec Dublin and San Francisco. Those contracts have been amended and they're signed. They're in a staff folder, so everyone has access to them. As of right now, Dublin is supposed to be held June 6th through the 10th of 2022. And San Francisco is September 19th to the 23rd. So fingers crossed that we'll be able to host those events as live in-person events.
I'm looking forward to that.
I think everybody is. What else do we have? LastCon and Australia, Global AppSec Australia. LastCon is, we're waiting for them to send over the contract from their venue so Andrew can sign that. I have their budget and I'm hoping to finalize that by the end of this week. Australia, I do have their budget. I made quite a few updates to it. I have a call this evening with the 2 event planners to go over that. And Alana is going to be on that call too. Just to go over that with him because there's quite a few budget items that I don't feel are necessary. And to Tom's point earlier, the expending versus the income, I feel like that event could make a lot more money if we just tweak their budget a little bit. What else? So getting to the 2021 event budget, I've submitted the numbers so far without Australia or LastCon, just because I'm still working on those budgets with them. But the previous numbers that Emily had reported back in November, I don't know if you guys remember this, the slideshow that she had presented at the special meeting. I'm not sure where she got some of those numbers, and I couldn't make sense of where she got some of the totals from, or I should say the expenses. When I did it, I came out with higher numbers for expenses, and my budget is very conservative. I erred on that side just because I don't know how this year is going to go with COVID. I'm hoping, like I said, we'll be able to get back to face-to-face events, but right now it is on the more cautious side. So hopefully that number, we will be bringing in more money, but right now, that's what it looks like without the Global AppSec Australia and LastCon event. What else? I think, oh, I'm trying to move the screen, but this isn't my screen. What else do I have? I think that's all that's on there, right? For whose screen are we looking at?
It's Sharif.
It's mine.
Yeah, okay, then we go to operation. Yeah, so the budget, like I said, Tom and I have been in contact, so we're working on that. And then the LastCon in Australia, we should have by the end of this week. He'll be able to plug those numbers into the budget. And then you guys will be able to vote on that, hopefully, if not before the February board meeting, but at the February meeting. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind trying to wrap my head around all of this and find out what's been done, what hasn't been done, what was done not so right, I guess you could say. And we're still finding things. So we kind of thought we had found everything up until yesterday, and we're still uncovering some items that need to be addressed. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Alana has been a huge help. So I just wanted to publicly thank her. I know she's not on this call. She's actually pinging me. She's manning the trainings right now. So, but she has been a huge help to me. So I just want to say thank you to her. And I think that's all I have. Anybody has any questions?
What help do you need from the community?
I'm going to be sending out, well, of course, we always need volunteers. So I know Bill and Grant have been great with trying to get some of those submissions for the call for trainings done. They've, Bill's got a list of people who had helped last year. They're helping again this year. So we're grateful for them. And Bill, of course, you and Grant, thank you. We're going to be putting together a survey and sending that out for the 20th anniversary. So if you guys, when you start seeing that, retweet it, submit some ideas, some suggestions of what you would like to see for the 20th anniversary. Tweeting, I guess more like social media and marketing our events. So if you see something the OWASP has, pushed out there, if you guys could retweet it, or even on your own, just go to the website. I was always like a firm believer of trying to keep the website as up to date as possible with as much information. Some of the information, like I said, it's still in the works. We're not using the registration system. The one that the gentleman had built for us, because there's so many quirks with that. For our free events right now, we are using Eventbrite. paid events, we may just end up using the cost of the registration that Eventbrite charges into the cost of the ticket, which is, I think, around, I don't know, $5. So, yeah, I would just say, helping to promote our events and everything. Like I said, as soon as it's available, it will be tweeted. It'll be on, LinkedIn, all of our social media channels, but it'll also be on the website. So, and if you guys have any questions and you're not sure, you know how to get in touch with me. So I'm here too. Yeah, marketing is just a big hole. Like, I don't want to say a hole right now, but we don't have anybody marketing really. So it's kind of like, oh, we'll tweet, we'll do this, schedule this and Hootsuite. So we really need to kind of iron those details out.
Kelly, can I say something on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we have so many students who would like to volunteer for marketing, and they can do really amazing stuff. So probably we can reach out to some of the volunteers from colleges across, and probably they can help out. Like, you can tell them what exactly you want and they can help you out. We can give them internship or some project, I would say.
Okay. I had thought about that, but then I kind of got sidetracked with other things. So, but yeah, marketing is huge and we definitely need it because just us, we all have, amongst all of us, a good following, but still we need to reach out to her. So I would say that's like our number one right now. If you guys could help with that, if you know any students, Vandana, that may be interested, definitely please put me in contact with them.
Sure, I can do that, because I am sure this is the time when student needs some learning from or exposure from open source communities and organizations. So probably I will interact with you offline for that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
I have another comment. So one is, we have on the website with our purchase spotlight and stuff like this. Actually, there's not much moving there. I think it's not only a question for Kelly, but also for Harold. And the other one would be, then could we have there was a features chapter. Maybe we can do this also for our events, to be more permanent on the website. And the other one is for the review of submissions. We talked about having a review board globally. So in Europe, we had, for the previous Upside conference in Europe, we had an international review group of reviewers. So Owen was part of it as well, and actually sharing it several times. So the question was to extend it to have, like we had in a past speaker bureaus, to have volunteers, and there can be international, there can be local, just to organize that and give you an easier way to have submissions reviewed, transparent as possible on the process. Is that something that would help you for the review process? Because I understand it's also a part. I would be happy to organize and start this up.
Thank you. Both.
Grant?
I was just going to say that I've suggested to Kelly that that's probably something that so Bill and I have stepped in to try and help with this initial batch, and Bill's got a team that are used to working together. But it's probably something that the Education and Training Committee should take on and manage or have something that globally exists and is always available to review.
Yeah, it's different to organize to a conference. So I would say a training is like something different, or education is different than when you have a conference training or training submissions, even if you have paper submissions. I led it, or kind of recreated it for the Europe conferences. I inherited and extended it. And it was with, I forgot her name. Who did it before this conference? Emily, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I've forwarded several times to her, and she then forwarded that she would do something with that, but never happened. But we should have a board, like for other big conferences, like for Black Hat, we have a review committee, and even then they are centralized, organizing that review committee for the different local events. That was something I would envision. I forwarded, I would be happy to take on.
So Martin, I think that's going to be the events committee that we're planning on setting up. That's actually got a reasonably high oomph in the planning poker, so that'll get done earlier than later now. Do you see the role of the events committee in helping review these events?
No, because the event committee is about how to organize the event and what you need for there and that stuff. This is just when you have a local event or global event that you have a process on how, just a review committee for submissions on either trainings on presentations. It's not the same as an event committee that looks in the event, because this should be then you can register your event and then maybe should think, hey, when you ever feel like I need a review committee for the local events, and for global it always should be like, as I said, for a Black Hat who has back in Europe, back in US, you have a review committee, and then the reviewers can subscribe the availability to an event to do review. So I would do I will post an I'll call it something to you all and see if we're from there.
I understand the distinction Martin's trying to make. The one is about managing an event. The other is about evaluating the content of things that could be presented. Like the Black Hat, the review board is a standing board.
Exactly.
I
will put something together and then we have discussed it for next meeting.
So there will be some specific people who would be on a review board of the US committee. Then there will be some people who will be part of the Europe committee, right? Or it will be one global committee that you're recommending.
I recommend that we have a pool of reviewers. They can then subscribe when the event comes up that they can refer. But I said I will draft something for you, and then we can.
It worked really well in the past. They're all volunteers and stuff like that, even for the websites and stuff like that.
It's kind of essentially formalizing what Bill's done with his group, right? Individuals who've done this before, we need help, we pull them in to help us out. But it's somebody that's expecting that to happen.
As we did in UpSec Europe for like last 6 years.
Yeah, in the US, it's only it was only really brought in recently or over the last while, but Europe has been, apart from the last conference that we hosted, we used that approach, whereas the last conference that we hosted was kind of just done from scratch.
Vandana also want to say something.
Yeah, in the past, I heard something. Thank you. Thank you so much, Martin. Actually, there was one form in 2019, if I remember correctly, which was spread across where they sent out a form to all of us. Like it was tweeted, it was shared over email saying that we want people for this particular conference and we want people for this particular conference, which OWASP has. And everyone filled out. Stating their location, and none of the people were selected from Asia or other regions except US and UK or Europe, because they specifically said we are looking for local people, which I still have that email. I can share it across, which I did not feel was right. Either you don't ask people openly, or you don't request people to be on the board. Like either you say that, okay, these are the people that I want on the board, or just select an idea. Okay, this is what I want. If you're opening it up for people for help, then you need to accept all those things as well, which I feel if we are looking for such kind of review board, and Martin, you are looking to draft something, then my recommendation would be like you actually look at that point as well. I can share that email with you because I did not find it convincing enough, because none of the Indian or Asian or I would say from Israel people were selected. So which I did not feel like. Somebody might want to join from South Africa, Egypt, or any other location.
Yeah.
So we should be open. There are some amazing talent there as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you also need the more and less experienced, and that stuff. That's all will be, yes. I've been in several review committees and I've done it for a while, so definitely thank you, and forward me the email.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're almost at time. Well, usually it finishes at 8:20. We're 20 minutes out, but the meeting was organized until 8:50. But I just wanted to quickly just make sure that we are on agenda. Andrew, did we cover everything on the foundation side, since we've covered old business and new business as well?
I believe so. Martin brings up that even though I'd like to get a reschedule of the actual last day, we'll follow that up in email.
Okay, we'll follow that in email. Okay.
I saw there's some items under operations. Did we want to cover those?
There's staff reports for the board to review between. So the idea is that if there's something there that you wish to discuss, like say something's jumping out at you that you'd like to bring up, that's where the changes to the agenda is a good item. If you do have something we want to discuss, now's the time.
I was just looking at the board source training. It looked like I was the only one who did it. So I was just curious about that.
That's been updated since I sent the email out. I got a few more people sent me the certificates. Because I give this to Andrew last week. I didn't get a response on the number 3 yet from some people, but well, I can do that offline. But yeah, some people, they're starting to send me the certificates now.
Okay.
I did order the book, Dawn. in
Thank
case you're
you.
curious.
I also ordered the book. It should come by next week.
Yeah, I have you down that you did.
Yeah. So mark me down as well. So I've ordered the book.
Owen?
And you'll get the
Good
certificate.
asking, yes. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay. If there are no further items, put a motion to adjourn the board meeting. Can I get a second?
Can second it.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day. I will stop my share and stop recording now.